If you clicked on this because you're a tradie that's stuck at one investment property, or you're yet to start building your portfolio and you're worried you'll get stuck, you're in exactly the right place. We're breaking down the 5 real reasons why tradies get stuck at one investment property, and most importantly, what you can do to get out of each one. Plus, we'll show you exactly what tradies are spending money on that's costing them hundreds of thousands in lost wealth.
Alrighty, welcome back. You're on site with the property tradies. We have something special today, Joel. What do we
Mhm.
got?
We're going to do a deep dive into why most tradies get stuck at one investment property and how you can be in the top 1% of property investors.
Yeah, even just getting past that one investment property
Yep.
seems like a big struggle, and that's because it is.
Yep.
Literally, only the top 1% of property investors get past one.
Yeah, that's not the exact figure. But yes, most struggle. I think it's only 70%
Or get
own
past
one.
one.
Yeah. So
Oh,
only 70%
and then
own
it's like
one.
two or something along those
Yeah.
lines. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, got you,
So
got you.
it's yeah, for most people they're only at the one investment property. So yeah, let's get stuck into it. So the first, I guess, struggle we see is people getting stuck in the life upgrade cycle. This There's a few different things in upgrading. The first one can be the house. So that's a big one where people will buy their house to live in and then just constantly sell it and spend all their savings on buying a new upgraded version. Um, Another one is the ute, Brodie.
Yeah, it's a complete trap, the ute, especially when you're on the tools
Hmm.
and you think, yeah, maybe something with a bit bigger of a tray that I could use that,
Hmm.
might double as something good for camping. Nah, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you get into that top 1%. It's not even going to help you get past one property.
Yep. And they're probably the two main ones. Constantly upgrading the car, constantly upgrading the house. It's not going to leave you with any lending to keep building the portfolio. As soon as you take on large amounts of debt without any cash flow coming back your way, it's going to make things very hard. So if you've got 120K car loan, and
Mm.
if you've got $1 million owner occupier debt, it's not going to be very favorable when going back to the banks.
With the home upgrade one, I get it, and I know you get it
Mhm.
too. We have these skills that we want to put to use,
Mhm.
and we go, yeah, we could, I'll save some cash here. I'll do this myself, or
Mhm.
maybe we'll upgrade the home, and then I'll do even more works to it, and you just end up further back and further back, and it's this kind of cycle
Mhm.
of never getting ahead.
Yep,
So we need to snip that in the butt.
definitely. So live below your means,
Mm.
and yeah, I guess getting the collection of cars, caravans, jet skis, boats. Whenever you're having money, you want to nip that on the butt as well.
Yep.
In my eyes, that's something you want to do later on in life. Once you get yourself set up with a few investment properties, and you might have your home paid off, that's when you can start enjoying those things. Because once you've built up your asset base, it's going to give you that safety into retirement.
Well, we spoke about it on last week's episode. It's delayed gratification,
Hmm.
right? So you bust your ass, you do the right things,
Yep.
and then you enjoy those for like those nice things later on in life because you've earned them.
Yep. And yeah, I think with the upgrade cycle, it is the mentality around it. I'm working hard, I earned it, I deserve it.
Mm.
Delaying that gratification is going to be key in building past that one property.
It's funny. I always that's a definitely a mindset how people think in tradies specifically. They work hard, they've earned it, they deserve it.
Hmm.
I've always been of the mindset of if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Definitely.
So if I've got something and if it ain't broken and it's working fine, then why do I need to update it? So if you can live, apply that to as much of life as possible.
Yep.
Promise you're going to be better off.
Yep. Stay on the straight and narrow, keep it simple.
That's it.
Number two is income. Now, there's a lot of different aspects around your income that could be causing you to be stuck at that one property. First example is if you're a subby or you're a casual worker
Mm.
and having issues with your pay slips, it's going to make it very hard to get lending. Banks love seeing consistent pay. They know they can rely on you. With them, it's about minimizing the risk on their books. So if they don't have pay slips that are consistent, they're gonna see you as a risk. So if you are looking at going out on your own, becoming a subby, and you're currently on a PAYG income, it might be best to have a chat with a mortgage broker and see where you currently sit and utilizing that consistency that the banks love.
Yeah, and just on the other side of that, if you are a PAYG earner and you're working for a company and you're enjoying what you're doing, you're making good money, you're actually in a better position than you probably think you're in.
100%. And a really important metric, well, I don't know if it's necessarily important, but I was doing research the other day and a higher percentage of teachers own investment properties than tradies.
That
Um,
is interesting.
and the incomes definitely don't match up, but I think it definitely is based around that culture of the subby culture and the pay slips not allowing you to get loans for properties because teachers are on that very consistent, easy, I guess, low risk income. It's much easier for them to get a loan.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being a subby or working for yourself or anything like that. You
No.
just got to do it right,
Yep.
and you got to have the right people in your corner.
Exactly.
Take the time to find those accountants, those mortgage brokers, whatever
Yes.
whoever your team is,
Yep.
make sure they understand and know your position.
100%, and keep them up to date. You want to have check-in calls with them. We just got off the phone with our accountant Brodie,
Yep.
because we're looking to buy properties and we're planning before we come to tax time of how can we move our money around to best work for us. So
Yeah.
book in a quarterly call with your accountant, especially if you're a subby, and just give them life updates and let them know where you want to be in the next quarter.
Yep.
If that involves a property, it's going to allow them to get ahead and start that planning early on, from an income perspective.
Love it.
Um, Next one with income, which we see very often, is the big year broke year roller coaster. Obviously, the trades industry can be quite up and down. Whether or not it's a big metro job that you're working on, where you might have a plethora of overtime, a lot of allowances as well,
Yep.
and then the next year not having as much, and because you've got that big year and you're working so hard, you decide to say, "Oh, I'm too busy to do anything."
Yeah, you're exactly right. And all I could think about when you were saying that is if you're working a job, and I know a lot of mine boys are like this as well,
Mhm.
where you're pretty steady,
Yep.
the income steady, the work steady, and you're making good money,
Mm.
and you're not riding that wave. Like you're in such a good position, guys.
Yeah.
There are people out there who, like you said, they're on a big site and then they're not on a big site,
Yep.
and they're earning this and they're not earning this, or maybe they're self-employed and they've got lots of work coming in and then they've got no work coming in. Like you got to understand your position
Yep.
and then take advantage of it.
100%, because you will regret it if you don't
Mm.
capitalize. And then you're sitting there year after you speak to your mortgage broker because now you've got time and you can't borrow the amount that you wanted. You're going to be kicking yourself that you didn't make moves while you're super busy. So I know it's tough,
Mm.
but as you mentioned before, Brodie, that's why building the team around you of professionals is going to be super important because you can lean on them.
Yeah.
They understand you're super busy, but they will also understand the position that you're in if you find the right one and how to put that to good use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess next one was the too busy to invest paradox.
Yeah, there are people out there who can take professionals, I should say, out there who can take the load off.
Yeah,
Like if you are that busy, but you know this is something you want to do,
yeah,
then lean on those professionals to take the load.
outsource it.
Outsource.
Yeah,
We love outsourcing, don't
yeah,
we?
exactly right. And it's just like if you've, you're doing something that you don't know. Trades are very good at outsourcing that, but with your finances, people typically avoid doing that for some unknown reason.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. Like you wouldn't, get the plasterer to do your electrical.
Yeah,
Like you're going to go get an electrician, the right person for the right job. It's the
exactly.
exact same with finances.
100%. Um, some other common ones which are going to kill you. I think the big one I see is the low profit business owner. Now, of course, you could be low profit because you're not making enough money, but where I see this being an issue that can be changed is that business owner that is writing everything off, getting the utes, getting all the brand new equipment when it's not necessary because they might have the wrong accountant in their court
Hmm.
or because of those, I guess, preconceived financial thoughts that you're told. You're told as a tradie to write everything off.
Yeah, it's all too often that we hear people, like you said, Rod, business owners writing everything off
Mhm.
because all they care about and all they can think about and all they're told is tax this, tax that, get your
Mhm.
tax as low as possible.
Yep.
Now we're not accountants,
Mhm.
but we know if you're writing everything off and you're trying to get your taxes as low as possible,
Mhm.
well then you're essentially running your business at as much of a loss as possible.
Yeah, you're reducing the amount that the banks are looking at when
Exactly.
they're looking at lending you money.
Well, what do they look at when that if you're a
They
business
look at
owner and you
profitability.
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're a business owner and you're serious about getting
Mhm.
past that 1% or getting past one property or whatever it is, building a portfolio, you have to know what you have to do in your scenario. And
Yeah.
your scenario is to look profitable and show that your business is profitable.
Yeah, exactly. And again, with a lot of old school accountants that only worry about minimizing tax because that's how I guess they get clients and how they sell their value to a lot of business owners. Be very wary of those ones that can't have those investment conversations
Mm.
with you and help you with that planning side of things.
My little tip to anyone who is a business owner, or no, actually, you know what? Just anyone who's serious about investing, if you're going to find a
Mm-hmm.
professional, make sure that they've done it themselves.
Yep,
Okay.
definitely.
So if you're a business owner trying to find an accountant to give you advice, make sure
Yep,
that they have a property portfolio.
yep.
And if you're just an everyday bloke or gal or whatever it is, and you want to get lending for an investment property,
Mm-hmm.
make sure they have investment properties themselves because
100%.
not every professional is made equal.
Yeah, and it's very easy for especially mortgage brokers today to get into the industry. It's fairly low barrier to entry, and a lot of them don't know what they're doing from an investment standpoint. So they will just come into the industry and just work with first home buyers. It's very vanilla, but it has nothing to do with building a property portfolio.
Yeah.
Um, then moving on to the key reason number three why tradies never get past that first property is buying the wrong first asset. The thing here is the first property in your portfolio, it sets the tone for the building of your portfolio. And a bad first experience can kill your mindset behind investing. And also, if your mindset's still clear, but you have no growth within that property, then you're going to have to save up again
Mm.
for another deposit.
Yeah, I've always kind of said this. Your first property is going to be your hardest
Yep,
to get to, but
100%.
it's also your most important.
Exactly
So
right.
there's a lot going on there,
Hmm.
a lot riding on it,
Yep,
but if you just once again surround yourself with the right people, educate yourself,
yep,
listen to this podcast, we'll try to help where we can.
yep,
It's going to make the rest of the journey so much easier.
yep.
And like for the reasons that we're about to explain.
Exactly right. So the first, I guess, a mishap we see a lot of people do is bad market timing. So bad market timing basically refers to buying a property in a market which might be closer to the top of its growth cycle. I've actually got a really good story about this. I work with a guy, I won't name him, but he bought his first investment property in 2010 and he held that property. I guess he bought at the peak basically.
Yep.
He held the property for 8 years and actually sold it at a loss because he bought in the wrong market at the wrong time. And from there, he hasn't invested in property. And when I was speaking to him about my portfolio when I was still on site, he's like, "Yeah, I'll never invest again." So
That's sad.
it is very sad, and I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, and that's why you've got to nail it as a first time investor because people are very prone to throwing in the towel.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a misconception because there is the saying safe as houses,
Yep,
because over a long-term investment,
yep,
your property is probably going to do well. And when I'm talking long-term, I'm talking like 20 years,
yep.
right? The property will go up. It's the safest houses. That's how Australia works. But if you want to build a property portfolio while you're young and you can eventually,
Mhm.
maybe get off the tools,
Yep,
that is not the strategy you're going for.
yep.
You got to pick the right place at the right time so that you can build off of that. You can't wait 10, 20 years for growth.
Exactly right. Like if you don't have that growth for the 10 years compared to someone that has $200,000 worth of growth in year one,
Yep.
what's the difference with then buying a property again in year two
Hmm.
or waiting another 10, 20 years, which yeah, people aren't going to sit around for that long.
Well, yeah, you're that bloke on site. He bought one
Mhm.
property in 10 years and
Yep.
you bought what, two or three in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, 4
But
or 5 in 4.
yeah,
So
so that's
getting
what it
it
can do.
right is, yeah, gonna allow you to keep moving forward. In bad market timing is also the regret of not getting into a market. A lot of people will see a market near them or a market that they live in double in value in a 3 to 5 year period, and instantly they say, okay, prices have grown too much. I'm never going to invest. Whereas there's so many markets around the country that you can buy in.
Yeah, it's borderless investing, isn't
Yep.
it? I haven't bought once in my own backyard, and when I
Hmm.
say my own backyard, I literally mean my own state.
Yep.
Bought in 2 different states personally,
Hmm.
and, I do not regret it for a second.
Yep.
It was a hurdle to overcome at
Yep.
the start because, like, "Oh, I'm not gonna see the property. I can't drive past the
Hmm.
property. Like, how do I know it's still standing?" Mate, it's still standing. Like,
Yep.
that's what you got property managers for, but you gotta if you're serious about scaling and
Hmm.
doing this, you have to be open to everything, and that means investing in states outside of your own.
Yep. You've got to expand your horizons beyond what you know, and do a little bit of research. Outside of bad market timing, that does lead us to the next one, which you were just
Mm.
speaking about, Brody, is buying in your backyard. Now, you can get this right because sometimes buying in your backyard, it might be one of the best markets to buy in.
Yeah, sometimes the timing works.
Sometimes the timing works, but most of the time it doesn't. And
Well,
we're prime examples of that. Like you mentioned, you
mm,
haven't bought any properties in your own state. We will shortly,
yeah.
but that comes down to that market timing.
Well, there's something like 16,000 suburbs or thereabouts
Hmm.
in Australia. And I've always been of the mindset, what makes me think
Hmm.
that out of those 16,000,
Hmm.
that the ones in my little bubble is
Yep.
going to be the best to invest in? That's pretty like the odds of that are so low. I'm an odds man.
Yep.
And like that just that never clicked for me. It
Exactly.
just so happens that maybe in the next few months,
Hmm.
it will be a good time to invest in my location. And that might be its time in the sun for the next 10 years. It
100%.
doesn't always happen though.
Yeah. And on that point as well, I remember when I was buying my first investment property and I had spent years, I guess, understanding how to research locations and find the best growth spots. And I decided on Perth, but I still had this block in buying interstate. And I was also looking at the Melton market. So at the time,
Mm.
the property I was looking at and location in Perth was the same price as a property in Melton, which is west of
West
the
of,
CBD in
yeah,
Melbourne. So both were around that low 400 mark. Now, if we look at the prices today, that Perth property is worth near $1 million,
it's crazy,
about 980, 990.
crazy.
And if I look at a similar type of property in Melton, that property is probably worth low sixes.
Yeah,
And that has only started growing in the last year or so. So market timing and not just buying in your backyard is crucial.
yeah, love it.
Third is, yeah, I guess just purchasing in a low growth location. You can open your mind up to buying borderless, but doesn't mean you still don't look at the fundamentals. So, key ones can be buying the wrong asset type, an apartment in the wrong
Mm.
market at the wrong time,
Yeah,
a Melbourne CBD for the last 10, a Melbourne apartment in the CBD for the last 10, 15 years has gone backwards.
yes, it
We've seen
has.
a lot of them where that people are selling for 50, 100K less than what they paid or built it for.
Hmm.
And then also mining towns, or I guess towns where one industry of employment controls most of the economy. Because if that turns to shit, people have no jobs, they can't pay their homes, they're going to have to move and find a job in another location.
Yeah.
And yeah, what's the next part, Brody, in, I guess, a low growth property buying new as well?
Yeah, we like to call them greenfield
Yep.
estates, and pretty much it's exactly that. It's all
Yep.
grass
Mhm.
with new homes being built up, I guess dirt, but
Yep.
it's all new homes getting stacked one next to the other next to the other.
Yep.
And these places will often be sold to people who maybe might not be the smartest investor or maybe vulnerable
Yeah,
as good
definitely.
investments.
Yep.
Then just not. If you're serious about scaling
Yep.
a portfolio and
Yep.
building,
Maximizing
you
your
can like
profits.
it doesn't make sense
Yep.
because it's not going to grow in value off the front foot.
Yep.
It's going to take time because of a supply issue,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
You're great at supply and demand. It's one of the things you love to do in your spare time. Why? Why is a new build
Mhm.
not as good as something that's maybe already built up?
Yeah, I think the thing is scarcity in real estate is where you create money. If you're buying a new estate where 1,000 more properties are going to be coming to the market, you have to have more than 1,000 buyers ready to go,
Mm.
um, for growth to come in.
Yep.
And until that supply is taken up by the market, you can't have the same amount of growth. And a great example of this is, I met these people when I was on holiday in the Philippines. Hopefully, they're not listening to this, but they they bought a house and land package in Perth, similar time to when I bought my property in an established area. So they've gone in, listened to one of these buyers agent companies who sting you a small fee, but then they get paid 40 to 50 grand from the developer. I think they paid about 5 or 550 for the property. And I was talking to them and I was like, oh, yeah, like, how's the property performed? And they're like, oh, it's amazing. It's grown by about $150,000.
Mm.
In the same time that I bought a
So
property
what's that time
cheaper,
frame?
it's about 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. So
Um,
theirs grew by 100 odd,
150, 200, I
and
think it
yours
was.
has grown
And
by.
mine's grown by about 500. So I've bought a cheaper property and is now worth far more. Um, and again, like, you can still have growth
Mm.
because again, have had growth,
Yeah.
but it's the opportunity cost.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's $300,000. That's for me. I've been able to use that 300,000 to go and buy two more properties.
Yep.
Whereas if I had have had the growth that they had,
Mm.
it would have meant I would have only been able to buy one more.
Yep.
And that's what you don't see.
No,
You
you don't.
don't see that.
And you're not told that. No
You're
one
not
no
told
one
that.
tells you that. And
Exactly
so
right.
you gotta pick these places so that it can grow by the give it the absolute best chance to grow by
Yep.
as much as possible, and then utilize that and rework it. And it's all these little things. But like you said, these new homes where there's
Mhm.
everything in that estate is new.
Yep.
There's no competition. Like, why would I buy your house when I can just go buy the one next door?
Exactly right. Build something for a cheaper price.
Mm.
Definitely. Cool. Let's head into number four, which is lazy equity.
Mm.
In brackets, I've got people being scared to take equity out.
Okay.
Brodie, lazy equity. What does that term mean?
Yeah, so be I like that you put it in brackets, being scared to pull equity out, because a lot of
Yep.
people might not even know what equity is, and then
Yep.
when they do know what equity is, maybe they're not confident
Yep.
in on how to use it. And so pretty much equity, just to dial it back a little,
Hmm.
is the difference between the purchase price that you purchase the property,
Hmm.
and then its value price now. So
Yep.
what it's valued at, maybe say 2 years later.
Yep.
That difference between the price you purchased it and what it's valued at now, that
Yep.
is the equity. However, you can't use all of that. There's a thing called usable equity,
Yep.
and then it's about 80% of that number.
Yep.
Anyway, people are scared of using that
Yep.
equity because it turns into another debt.
Correct. Definitely. And lazy equity is when you do have that money that you just explained sitting in a property and you're not doing anything with
Mm.
it. This is money that you can take out, use it to buy another property. And I think why people don't go down that route is either from lack of knowledge
Hmm.
as to how you can use this, and also being scared of, I guess, crossing things up and buying different properties with that money. But this is where the education piece comes into it. So the psychological barriers are typically the I hate debt mentality, and also what if rates go up.
Hmm.
And I've already taken more out of my property to do this, but I think where people they go wrong is they don't understand we're getting fucked by inflation.
No doubt.
For me, that was one of the key parts to having no fear in taking on debt, because of the amount of money that the government's printing year on year. It devalues the money that you have in your bank. And that's why asset prices increase in value. It's not necessarily that things are just becoming more valuable out of nowhere.
Mm.
It's just because the amount of money, total supply of money, is increasing year on year.
Yeah. No, well said. The other thing I'll just quickly throw in there, I think a
Mhm.
lot of people would also be unaware that they even have equity
Yep,
that's usable,
definitely.
especially if they own their home,
Yep,
or if their PPOR, which is their personal place of residence.
yep,
There, there's so much usable equity there, but people don't even know.
yep.
And then they could be using that to then get ahead and build a portfolio or maybe even pay off that PPOR if they
Yeah.
haven't fully paid it off.
That's
Like,
that's one of the strategies we find a lot of clients come to us and we start implementing is you've got your home,
mhm,
got some equity sitting there. First phase is building the investment portfolio to then sell
yep,
and pay off your home. So
yeah,
you reduce all of the bad debt because even though the debt on your home is attached to an asset which will increase in value, it's not bringing in any cash flow. So it is still bad debt on
yep.
your home, and it's not tax deductible. You can't claim that negative gearing. So you pay down the home and then you start the portfolio again with your investment debt.
With no,
Great strategy.
yeah, it's a fantastic strategy.
Yep.
No bad debt, all good debt,
Yep.
and you own the home that you're living in.
Definitely. Yeah. What are some other knowledge gaps we got here? So, um, yeah, more around I think understanding how equity releases work. When you do take an equity release, it is very important to note that this is a new loan that you're taking.
Mm.
I remember when I was taking out equity for the first time, I thought that cool, the banks will lend me that equity and I won't have to pay any interest on top of that. But it's not actually how it works. I thought because it was my money,
Yeah.
I could just take it out as I please, but it isn't. Sorry, it isn't. You're going to still have an interest rate attached to that. So that is important to note.
Yeah, you're taking out another loan, but remember, we're smart investors.
Yep.
We're using that loan to get ahead, which is why
Mhm.
you can't just use equity on anything, or you shouldn't just use equity on anything.
Correct.
Shouldn't live off equity because then you'd be living off a loan, which would be bad debt. We want to reinvest that equity
Yep.
so that it turns back into good debt.
Yep. And if you've listened to that and you're like, look, I think I've had some growth within my property. The next thing to understand is that difference between equity that you can use and equity that needs to sit in your property. So the common terms are usable equity
Mhm.
and total equity. We can get into the formulas, but I think that'll be a little bit too in depth. Basically, usable equity is an amount that you can actually take out. Typically, you've got to leave at least 20% of the property's value in the house. Anything on top of that, you can pull out as a loan.
Yeah.
Total equity is the amount that you can pull out and also the amount that you have to leave in there. So just how much of your net worth is tied up in that property. That's important to understand. Again, a broker will be able to explain how much of each you have available.
Yeah. 100%. That's why getting the right broker is important.
Yep.
What else do we have here? Some little knowledge gaps that we like to touch on.
Yeah, so I think with that lazy equity, people don't have trust in the professionals that they're working with,
Mm,
whether it be a broker or a buyer's agent or an accountant. They might speak to them and say, "Look, you've got this equity. I think we should go and use it." People do think that certain professionals are just trying to make a buck off them,
yeah, might be
which
out
I
to get them.
understand. There is some professionals in the industry, but don't let that hold you back from getting ahead. Take that advice on and do your own research
Yep.
and look into why they are suggesting that, and just ask open-ended questions. If someone is suggesting something to you financially, just look a little deeper into it. It's typically going to be of the reason of they're trying to get some money out of you, or they do have your best interests at heart, which I would hope that most financial professionals have.
Now, the last kind of knowledge gap that we hear about and we see
Mhm.
is when you're taking out a loan or that second loan of
Mhm.
your equity, people don't understand how offset accounts work.
Yes,
Now,
great point.
if you chat to your broker, they'll be able to teach you,
Yep.
but it's also good to know yourself and have a baseline understanding. What is an offset account, Joel, and how does it work?
Yep. So offset account basically means any money that you have sitting in this bank account will reduce the interest that you pay on your loan. So
Mm,
hypothetically, you've got $100,000 in your offset account and you've got a $500,000 loan. At the end of each month, when the bank goes and says, "Can you please pay me my interest that you owe me?" Instead of them calculating it on the 500,000, because you have that 100,000 in your offset account, they will only calculate and charge you off of 400,000. And what you said is spot on, Brody. Whenever I'm taking out equity, the strategy for me is I'm going to take out as much equity as I possibly can,
Mhm,
because there is no difference with that money being tied up in the loan
mhm.
or sitting in my offset account.
Yep,
The only difference is it means I have access to that money if need be. So you might have stretched yourself buying this second investment property,
yep.
but instead of taking out the minimum amount of equity, take out all of it and just leave yourself a buffer in that offset account, because it's the same outcome.
Yeah, so if something pops up and needs
Yep.
fixing, you could probably use your equity for that. Just a really quick summary, because that there was a chunk in that
Yep.
about offset accounts. Pretty much super baseline level. The more money you have in the account,
Yep.
the less interest you pay.
Yep. Spot on. There'll be, I guess, some yearly fees of holding an offset account, which is the only difference, I guess, from I guess, a cash flow perspective. They might charge you $300 a year just to have that account, but very small for
It's
what
the
it can
cost of
provide
doing
you with.
business.
Exactly right.
Cool.
Number
Number five.
five we've got is people being too rate sensitive. Oh, the amount of people I speak to that looking at investing in property and they're just worried about the rate that you're getting.
Yeah.
If you're building an investment portfolio, you've got to get comfortable with, I guess, pushing things to its limits. And one of those things is expanding the lenders that you're looking at outside of just first tier lenders,
Mhm.
and looking at non-banks, second tier lenders, third tier lenders. Do you want to explain what they are, Brody?
Yeah, so you've got, like you said, the different tiers.
Yep.
You're the most popular, the ones you know,
Yep.
the big banks. Your Combank, your NAB, Westpac, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got your next kind of tier of lenders, which I believe are like Pepper. Are they a second tier or are they
They're
third tier? They're a
third
third
tier.
tier.
Yeah.
So your second tier they're still banks, but what are they? Like
They're just different types of
they're not as big.
banks.
They're
They're
they're not
taking
like the
less.
top four,
Yeah.
are they?
Yeah. So
Right.
basically it's risk level how they work.
Right.
So
Maybe like a Bank of Melbourne or something like that. I
I
don't even
think
think.
they're more of a first tier. It more just is on the risk profile of the banks,
Yeah.
which is why the interest rates are higher.
Yeah.
When you have a second or third tier lender, they'll typically give you more access to debt,
Yes.
but they will sting you with a higher interest rate. So more of a high risk play on their
It's
end.
like a sliding scale, right?
Correct.
So if you are willing to pay a little bit more
Yep.
of debt
Yep.
to get access to more cash,
Yep.
then you go the lower tier because
Yep.
they're willing to give you that, but you're just gonna have to pay more
Yep.
through that interest rate. But if you're wanting to go with the big bank,
Yep.
maybe you might get a better interest rate.
Yep.
But they're going to be more strict
Yep.
on what you can and can't do.
Yeah. And typically how it usually works is you probably go in with your first investment property with a main bank,
Yep.
because you got the lending, and then from there, you've got that good rate. That second property, for the average person, is where you're going to have to expand your horizons. Me personally, with my 5 property portfolio, first property went in with Commonwealth Bank. The next 4 have all been with
Third
third
tiers?
tier
Yeah.
lenders. Pepper for all of them. And
Yeah.
if anyone understands what Pepper is, it's a high interest rate. So all my rates over 7%,
Mhm.
which is not small by any stretch of the imagination. But what you need to understand is this is short term, guys.
Yeah.
Once growth comes into those properties, the goal here, and which again is why having a investment savvy broker is so important, is the strategy around, okay, we're now going to then refinance some of these loans back into first tier lenders. So that second property I bought, is not with Pepper anymore.
Yep.
It's with that first tier lender as well. So
Got you.
as time goes on and I build up that equity,
You're refinancing them to the bigger lenders.
correct, because of the growth I've had, the
Okay.
banks view it as less risk. So I
Right.
can come back and say to the main banks, hey, I'm ready to fuck off these third tier lenders. Look, I'm much more of a lower risk here
Yep.
because I own 40% of this property now,
Got you.
rather than when I initially tried to have a chat with you and you shut me down and I only owned 10% of the property.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a different conversation that's had.
It's a great strategy, and if you're serious about getting past that
Mhm.
first property and building a portfolio,
Yep.
then you got to look, like you said, expand your horizons, look elsewhere, take on that risk for a couple years.
Yep.
We already know you're going to buy in a good location because you're going to do the research,
Yep.
and then you're going to like jump ship and go to the safer bank and get that better lending.
100%. It's a strategy. Working with your broker, as you said, Brody.
Yep.
Next ones, I guess some common ones I also see that I'll wait for rates to drop. Guys, if you're looking at building a portfolio and your most of your thoughts are based around rates, um, you've got a lot of work to do.
Mm.
Um, Also, if you're comparing your rates with your mates, and this is again where a lot of your thoughts are going, you need to rejig your mindset around
Yeah.
investing.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you go to five blokes on your job site and you go, "Hey,
Hmm.
what's your rate? What's your rate?" You're
Yeah,
all going to have different rates, and you might have the worst. And you're going to feel bad about it. I promise you, it's not that big of a deal
yeah,
because you're playing a bigger game here,
exactly right.
right? You're the high rate that you've got maybe on
Mhm.
your second property
Yep,
is a part of the game plan. So
exactly right.
don't compare. Run your race.
Hmm.
You've got your people. You've got your team, your coach,
Yep,
your property manager. Sorry, your
team.
broker.
Yeah, yeah,
God,
broker.
brain dead there. You've got your broker who's like your coach. You've
Yep.
got your game plan. You're going to put it into play,
Mhm.
and yeah, just block out the noise. Run your race.
Yep, definitely. Cool. Anything else in this specific topic around rates, Brody?
Look, nah, that's pretty much like the media will scream and cry rate
Mm,
interest rates heights, interest rates, this, that, and the other.
yeah,
Just take a deep breath. We're experienced investors. That's
yeah,
how we're going to view ourselves. Just because it goes up a little bit doesn't mean the end of the world. You know how to budget, all
yep.
right? You've put
the-
safety measures into
Yeah, build
place,
that buffer.
built that buffer. You're going to be fine. Do not, you know, scream. Do not get scared.
Yep.
And
And I think around that rate conversation as well, when you do maximize that equity you pull out, or the savings that you keep, it gives you that leeway and I guess confidence to take on that higher rate as
yeah,
well. So they go hand in hand.
cool.
Cool.
I like that.
Any closing thoughts on, I guess, where we see a lot of tradies go wrong once they've got that first investment and why they can't keep moving forward?
Um, it's I think they just got to stay on the ball.
Yep.
There's complacency as well,
Yep.
which I
Mm-hmm.
even fell into a little bit. So once you
Hmm.
get that first property, and I literally am speaking from experience
Yeah.
here, I'm like, shit, yeah, I've got it.
Hmm.
Right. And if it wasn't for you,
Yep.
who was a couple ahead of me,
Yep.
then I would have probably stopped pushing.
Yeah.
Right. So do not become complacent. If you're serious about this, keep the education going,
Yep.
keep the hunt going. Maybe just scroll on realestate.com every now and again just to like
Yep.
keep yourself entrenched in what you're trying to
100%.
do.
Don't put the queue in the rack and surround yourself with people that are in a better position than yourself. I was in a very similar situation after my first Brody. It's like you worked so hard to this particular goal, so now it's time to check out. I've
Mm,
achieved it,
yeah.
but you've got to now set your sights to a bigger goal. Beautiful. Well, that was a really good topic. Now let's head into my favorite section, Brody, the
Joel's
men's
favorite.
finance questions. If you guys don't know, the men's finance group on Facebook has about 100,000 members. Blokes put in their finance questions. A lot of them are quite funny. So
Feel,
we
I
like to go through one each and see what's happening out there.
feel like we need a jingle for this section. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
does feel like that way. I
Yeah.
feel like I want to tap my legs or something.
We might come up with some. I'll get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can sing next episode.
Yeah, maybe we'll think of a jingle. All right,
That's your homework.
I'll hit you with the first one,
Yes,
Brody.
sir. Yes, sir.
From Anonymous, our favorite person in the
Always
group.
anonymous.
Yeah. Hey all, I'm 23, earning 85K a year. I'm leaving my girlfriend, which we have a house together. Geez, this guy's lived life in the
Yeah.
fast lane.
At 23.
I should get around 250K from the house once sold. I have 30K in savings, bit
Hmm.
stuck with what to do. Part of me wants to spoil myself as I've worked hard since leaving school and spend 37K exactly on a car.
Jesus.
Plus, trade mine in for a decent four-wheel drive, and I can enjoy and invest the rest as every day isn't promised. But I know financially I should invest most of it, but also what into. I have no idea into apart from properties. Any advice or wisdom is greatly appreciated.
Okay, so first things first, it seems like you're doing pretty well at 23.
Yeah.
Um,
After a
unfortunate that
few
you're leaving
lives.
your missus, but is what it is. That's life.
Yeah.
The fact that you had a home together at 23,
Mm.
you're going to get a bit of a payout there. You've got a decent savings at 30K, which I'm sure you're still building.
Hmm.
You're in a good position. And the other thing I'll add on this, I think you kind of know what I'm going to say. I think this guy knows what I'm going to say. In the last part, he goes, I know financially I should invest most of it. So
Mm,
just do that, mate. If you
yeah.
know it and you know that that's right, just do it. There's a part of you that I'm sure wants to have a bit of fun and spend the money,
Yeah.
but I'm sure there's also a bigger part of you deep in there that goes, "Oh, this might not be the best idea." My advice, just buy something that gets you from A to B, invest it, and then it's
Mhm.
going to be that whole delayed gratification. Once you've got something under your belt, a couple of investment properties,
Yep.
go treat yourself then.
Yeah, I think it does depend. 37K isn't too extreme, and he's got a bit of money sitting there. But yeah, the beautiful part is he's got options. But I think that rent vesting piece would also be super beneficial for him.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
go and buy that house and lock yourself into a location after a breakup.
100%. You're single.
Yeah,
Yeah, mate. You got to rent. You don't know where your next missus is
exactly.
going to be.
You don't know where you're gonna live from there.
Where is she?
Beautiful.
Oh, yes. I've got a question for you.
That's it.
Mate, I was just having so much fun.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go, Jolly. Hi, guys. Foolish 26-year-old here. Buy an apartment for 300 to 400K in a good area to live
Mm-hmm.
in brackets, South Yarra,
Yep.
or investment property out in the suburbs and get priced out of my suburb I live in slash would buy an apartment from brackets South Yarra again. Biggest issue is the investment growth of a house, of course. I think I would be depressed. Say depressed, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would be depressed in an IP investment property in the middle of nowhere. So I think he's saying he wants to live there,
Yeah.
even
I
though it's an
think
investment property. It's a bit of a confusing one.
Yeah, from what I gather, he might not understand how rent vesting works.
Yeah.
So personally, I think if you
Well, he
feel
did.
like you have to buy an investment property and then live in it, it's not typically how it works because you're going to be renting it out.
Mm,
I think with this situation, there's probably two parts to it. Because if you were to buy the investment property in South Yarra, the rent's going to virtually cover itself. So living in it does necessarily make sense, because you're not necessarily getting cash flow benefits if you were to rent it out. But I think buying a house, especially as your first property, is going to be much better than an apartment, because this is going to be the pillar of your wealth building.
mm,
And where a lot of first home buyers can go wrong is if they buy an asset and live in it and it experiences no growth, it means you're going to be further priced out of houses down the line. If you compared to if you bought an investment property which kept up with the housing market,
yep.
it means you're not going to fall behind when the time comes and you want to make that upgrade. So do what's tested and tried through time. Buy the house on land, especially for that first property, and then rent exactly where you want to live.
Yeah, you suggested it to the last guy. Like he clearly wants to live in South Yarra. Just rent there.
Exactly
Rent
right.
there, save your cash, and then buy an investment property somewhere else.
100%.
Alrighty, rapid
Perfect.
fire, rapid fire. Here we
Let's
go.
let's get into it. I'll hit you with them
Ah,
first,
don't hit
Brody.
me,
So
don't hit
guys, we're
me.
gonna run through 8 questions, four for Brody, four for me, and yep, rapid fire.
Yes, sir.
So, Brody, what costs tradies more? The high interest rate or the equity sitting dead in their house?
I'm gonna pretend like it's a hard one, but it's not a hard one.
Yep.
It's the equity sitting in their house.
Yep.
Why? It's because it's unused potential.
Yep.
The headlines will tell you that interest rates are the worst thing in the world. I'm telling you it's a lot worse if you don't use the equity because you are stopping yourself from being in a much better position than you could be if you used it wisely.
Yep. Beautiful. Why do you think so many high income tradies still feel broke?
Probably because they're spending their money on like toys
Yep.
instead of investing property and investing properly, I should say, but
Yep.
yes, also in property. Um, don't buy toys, don't live outside of your means, don't work hard just to splurge it.
Hmm.
Yeah, they have to actually be smart with their cash.
Yep. If someone's too scared to take on debt, what would you say to them?
I'd say to them, grow up. No, I'd say to them, have a chat to a savvy mortgage broker, an investment savvy mortgage broker, and actually ask them, like what is debt? why am I so scared of it? Maybe even ask yourself that question. Why am
Mhm.
I so scared of it? And is this, if I have this debt, is it going to put me in a better or worse situation?
Yep.
Because if you can't figure that out for yourself, then maybe speak to someone who's a professional and they might be able to help you.
Yep. So get get the debt explained. Cool. How do you explain the difference between good debt and bad debt? You can explain it for them right away.
Here, let me explain it for you
Yeah.
guys. Good debt is pretty much on an asset that appreciates, goes up
Mhm.
in value. Even though you're owing money on a mortgage, like for example, that property is still going to outperform the mortgage. That's a good debt in most cases. Bad debt is debt owing on a depreciating asset,
Mhm.
i.e., maybe a jet ski
Yep.
or a car or a credit card loan or something like that.
Mhm.
Cool. Jolie,
Yeah.
I've got a couple questions for you. Let's go. What is the biggest lesson you learnt from a property deal that didn't go to plan?
First deal, it was for it was with my third investment property. I got the building and pest done, and basically the whole roof was fucked. There was structural issues. And in that moment, I learnt how valuable it was to get a really high quality building and pest inspector. The outcome with that property was that they actually agreed to spend 20, 30 grand on fixing those things up. So I learnt that if there is major issues in an investment property building and pest report, you have the leverage. And then on top of that, you want someone that can actually find those issues
Yeah.
and present them to you.
Yeah, super important. Get a building and pest.
Yep.
It can help you out in the long run, saving some cash. All right, here we go. What's one thing self employed tradies don't realize is killing their borrowing capacity?
It's writing everything off on tax just because you can buy something and put it down as a business expense,
Hmm.
which means you save the tax on it. Um, if you are looking to do any sort of investing by taking on debt, this is going to murder your borrowing capacity, and it's not going to help. It's not going to allow you to build wealth.
Yeah, love it. What's the one number? Yeah, is that right?
Yep.
What's I read it backwards. Fuck, so stupid. So stupid. All right, here we go. What's the number one? No, I read it
You did it
right.
again.
What's the one number every property investor should know, but most don't?
It's your year on year cash flow.
Right.
How
I
much?
understand what the question is
Yeah.
now. It's just
The number most property investors don't keep up with is how much is your portfolio costing you after taking into account your rental income and all of the expenses holding it. Not understanding this means you can't budget for it, and you also don't know what the next property needs to be from a cash flow perspective.
right.
If you're going in blindly with another purchase, and you add on a lot of negative cash flow, it can make holding your portfolio very hard.
Yeah, you got to know your finances. You got to know your numbers, and you got to
Mhm.
know how to read, or else you won't do well in podcasts. All right, last one for you, mate. Should you pay off your mortgage or use that money to invest?
I would say you should use that money to invest and then use the money that you made from investing to pay off your mortgage. So,
Mm,
um, again, it will come down to what you're wanting to do. Most people that I speak to that own their home, they're more focused on paying down the debt on that house initially. I'm working that through that with my sister and her partner at the moment. We've helped them buy two investment properties. And in the next 2, 3 years, with conservative amount of growth, we're going to be able to sell those investment properties. We've had some really strong growth in them. And then we're going to sell them and pay off the debt on their home. And then we're going to restart the portfolio. So I would say invest because you're going to pay off your debt faster.
love it, love it, love it.
Yep.
All right, that is your rapid fire, and that is
The podcast.
the potty.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, stay safe on site.